They were flops, short-lived DC characters who couldn't hold a series, sell toys, or even survive a handful of issues. Forgotten by fans, abandoned by writers, they seemed destined for obscurity. But years later, their powers, origins, and even personalities quietly resurfaced, reborn in entirely new heroes who went on to become DC legends. One obscure villain's gimmick became the signature of a Justice League icon. Another failed hero's backstory was reimagined into a modern fan favorite. So, which forgotten DC failures secretly shaped some of the biggest names in comics? Here are 10 failed DC characters that inspired icons. At number 10, Paula Brooks as Helena Wayne. Paula Brooks first appeared as the Huntress in Sensation Comics issue 68, 1947. She fought heroes like Wildcat as a non-powered thief, known for agility, clawed gloves, and a costume with a chest emblazoned H. Though one of DC's earliest costumed villainesses, she appeared in only a few stories before fading into obscurity. In 1977, DC introduced Helena Wayne in DC Superstars issue 17 as a new Huntress. She was Batman and Catwoman's daughter from Earth 2, trained in martial arts, armed with a crossbow, and determined to fight crime after her parents' deaths. Her costume featured a similar H insignia and cape design, clear visual callbacks to Paula's look. Writers never connected the two in story, but they reused Paula's code name, costume elements, and the lone wolf crime fighter concept. Helena became a hero, not a villain, and gave the Huntress name new meaning. Paula Brooks vanished. Helena Wayne took the mantle and made it matter, with costume cues and concept DNA that began in 1947. At number 9, the Gay Ghost as Deadman. The Gay Ghost, aka Gardner Fox, debuted in Sensation Comics issue 1, 1942, created by Gardner Fox. Keith Everett was an 18th century Irish nobleman who returned as a ghost to fight evil by possessing the living. Though charming, his stories were basic, often involving simple crimes and dated ghost tropes. After a brief backup run, he vanished after 1945 and was largely forgotten. In 1967, Strange Adventures issue 205 introduced Deadman, a murdered circus performer named Boston Brand, who, like the Gay Ghost, could possess others' bodies to bring justice. But this time, the concept hit. Deadman's stories focused on grief, isolation, and spiritual duty, with guidance from the goddess Ramakrishna. The emotional weight made him stand out. While Arnold Drake never cited the Gay Ghost directly, fans and historians noted the striking similarity. Same core power, same body-jumping mission, just executed better. Deadman perfected the Gay Ghost concept, transforming it into one of DC's most iconic supernatural heroes. At number 8, Batgirl. In 1961, DC introduced Batgirl Betty Kane, the niece of Batwoman and a teenage crime fighter meant to mirror Robin. Clad in red and green, Betty was written more as a love-struck sidekick than a true hero. She appeared in a few lighthearted stories before being quietly erased when DC revamped Batman's tone in 1964. Her run was brief, her role minimal, and she left almost no legacy. Then, in 1967, Detective Comics issue 359 changed everything. Barbara Gordon, Commissioner Gordon's daughter, debuted as Batgirl, a confident, intelligent librarian who became a crime fighter on her own terms. She wasn't a sidekick or a romantic add-on. She was independent, dynamic, and instantly popular. Barbara's debut filled the exact same niche Betty once did, a female vigilante fighting alongside Batman. Same costume concept, same code name, but this time, done right. DC didn't link them in story, but Barbara's Batgirl was clearly inspired by Betty Kane's failed attempt, and became the icon Betty never could. At number 7, The Rival. In 1949's Flash Comics issue 104, DC introduced The Rival, Dr. Edward Claris, a disgraced scientist who recreated Jay Garrick's speed formula and became a dark mirror of the Golden Age Flash. Clad in a reversed costume, he briefly terrorized Keystone City with speed-based crimes, but he vanished just as quickly. Flash Comics ended with that issue, and The Rival faded into obscurity. Then, in 1963, DC revived the idea, this time with Barry Allen's nemesis, Professor Zoom. In the Flash issue 139, Eobard Thawne arrived from the 25th century wearing inverted colors and wielding Barry's powers for evil. Unlike The Rival, Zoom stuck around. He wasn't just an evil speedster. He was obsessive, unhinged, and personal. He killed Barry's wife, shaped Wally West's legacy, and redefined Flash's rogues. Comic historians now call the rival the first Reverse Flash. He failed, but the concept lived on. Zoom succeeded where Claris didn't, turning a forgotten gimmick into one of DC's greatest villain legacies. At number 6, the Thorn to Poison Ivy. Rose Canton, aka the Thorn, debuted in 1947 as a botanically powered villain with a split personality. By day, she was mild-mannered Rose, but when her alter ego took over, she used plant-based toxins and vines to attack heroes like Jay Garrick. Though ahead of its time, the character didn't catch on. Her short run ended with retirement and obscurity, and the deadly plant woman idea faded away. But in 1966, DC revisited that concept with a bold upgrade. Poison Ivy, created by Robert Kanigher and Sheldon Moldoff, shared Thorn's core. A seductive, toxic woman commanding the plant world. But Ivy had no split identity, only a mission. A brilliant botanist turned eco-terrorist. She became one of Batman's fiercest villains. Her powers, style, and voice hit where Thorn's didn't. Kanigher himself had written some of Thorn's final stories, and Ivy felt like his perfected version. The result? Ivy bloomed into an icon. At number 5, Captain Atom to Dr. Manhattan. Captain Atom first appeared in Space Adventures issue 33, 1960, created by Joe Gill and Steve Ditko. He was Alan Atom, a military officer disintegrated in a nuclear test who reappeared with atomic powers: flight, energy projection, invulnerability. He wore a red and blue suit marked with an atomic symbol. Though prominent at Charlton Comics, he never gained major popularity. In 1983, DC bought Charlton's characters. Alan Moore's original Watchmen pitch used Captain Atom, but DC asked him to create new characters. The result was Dr. Manhattan, introduced in Watchmen issue 1, 1986. Like Atom, Manhattan was a nuclear accident survivor employed by the U.S. government, with glowing skin, near-omnipotent powers, and the same atomic chest symbol. Their origins, powers, government ties, and visual elements are directly linked. Even more confirmed Manhattan was based on Captain Atom. While Captain Atom remained a supporting hero, Manhattan became central to Watchmen and later crossed into DC continuity, cementing the original concept in a new, more famous form. At number 4, Ultra Humanite to Lex Luthor. Ultra Humanite was Superman's first supervillain, debuting in Action Comics issue 13, 1939. A bald genius confined to a wheelchair, he fought Superman using science and raw intellect, until he vanished after just a few stories. His most bizarre trick? Transplanting his brain into new bodies, including that of an actress. 2 issues later, Action Comics issue 23 introduced Lex Luthor, another bald, power-hungry genius with no superpowers, just ambition, brilliance, and a grudge against Superman. The resemblance wasn't a coincidence. Creators Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster reused Ultra Humanite's concept, evil Brainiac versus Superman, but removed the pulp elements and rebuilt him as a more direct, grounded threat. Lex was the upgrade. He took Ultra Humanite's niche, bald mastermind villain, and made it unforgettable. He's run corporations, governments, and nearly the world itself. Meanwhile, Ultra Humanite faded into trivia, appearing only in retro stories. Without Ultra Humanite, there's no Lex Luthor. Same creators, similar mold. One idea failed until they gave it a second chance, and it worked perfectly. At number 3 is Duela Dent as Harley Quinn. In 1977's Teen Titans issue 48, Duela Dent debuted as Harlequin, claiming to be the Joker's daughter. She wore a split-color costume with diamond patterns and used prank gadgets, a clown-themed vigilante trying to carve a place in Gotham's chaotic world. But her confusing backstory and inconsistent tone kept her from lasting. Within a few years, her appearances ended quietly, and she faded into comic book obscurity, remembered only by die-hard readers. Fast forward to the 1990s, and DC reintroduces the same core idea, but with a new story. In Batman Adventures issue 12, 1993, Harley Quinn hit comics as a red and black jester costume sidekick of the Joker, wielding cartoon weapons and dark humor. Her design echoed Duela's in concept: clown makeup, playful tone, and the Harlequin name, restyled as Harley Quinn. Unlike Duela, Harley became a breakout icon, headlining comics, films, and merchandise. The connection is clear. Duela Dent tested the concept, but Harley Quinn perfected it. Same gimmick, same look, just the right timing. At number 2, Superman's Nightwing to Nightwing. The name Nightwing first appeared in Superman issue 158, 1963, where Superman had no powers inside Kandor. To keep fighting crime, he created a new identity, Nightwing. Paired with Jimmy Olsen as Flamebird, it was a sci-fi twist on Batman and Robin, Superman pretending to be a powerless vigilante. The idea appeared a few more times, but never left Kandor. It wasn't a failure, but the name went unused for 20 years. Then, in Tales of the Teen Titans issue 44, 1984, Dick Grayson gave up being Robin and needed a new name. Superman told him the old Kandor legend, and Dick took up the name Nightwing in tribute. This time, it stuck. He became a team leader, got his own comics, and evolved into one of DC's most beloved solo heroes. DC directly reused the forgotten Nightwing alias from Kandor and made it iconic. Superman created the name, Dick Grayson made it matter. At number 1, Firebug to Firefly. In 1979, DC introduced Firebug, Joe Rigger, a soldier turned arsonist who lost his family in building accidents. Grief drove him to burn down Gotham's landmarks. His red and yellow suit, flamethrowers, and explosive rage gave him potential, but he never broke out. His appearances were few, and fans didn't connect. The costume looked cartoonish, and the character faded fast. Then in 1985, DC made a new villain with an older concept, Firefly. Originally a light-based thief, Firefly was reborn as a pyromaniac in a fireproof suit, wielding high-tech weapons and an obsession. Though never confirmed, Firefly echoed Firebug's concept, military roots, a fire motif, and tech-fueled arson. But this time, it clicked. Firefly eclipsed Firebug, establishing himself as the primary fire villain in Batman's universe. With appearances in Nightfall, Gotham Knights, Arrow, and others, Firefly employs the same gimmick and role but delivers a more compelling and polished execution than its predecessor. Firebug lit the match, but Firefly carried the flame. Which forgotten character surprised you most? Drop it below and hit like and subscribe button and press the bell icon for more comic deep dives.